turrets in place in front of each wall, and within 2 seconds they'd fired, jumped back on board their destroyer, and a lot of them started jumping out of their cockpits. Over the planet, 16 ships had become 16 areas of small debris. In spite of how often we'd been doing this, the dinosaurs had still not come up with a counter. Neither, for that matter, had the trick zone. Phase 2. Go for orbit. The fleet jumped to a proper orbit of the planet below. Like a lot of other planets we were finding, the Rawtenuga had forced this one to surrender, and had enough troops down on the surface to keep any resistance groups from being effective. It didn't stop them, though, just made them have to be cautious about showing themselves. This planet had managed to get the word out, which we'd picked up as soon as the system had been joined to our network. You'd think dung beetles, taller than most humans, would be able to handle dinosaurs which were not much bigger than them, but apparently not. Phase 3. Hit the transports. Each destroyer already had targets supplied by Tamsin, and they jumped to a spot in orbit above their first one and sent down a salvo of missiles. One was enough, but we were not mucking around. We wanted holes in the ground, not large debris. Jump, fire, and finally form up with Judge again. Serena had fired at her own targets near the main city, while the rest were covering the rest of the planet. "Locals are already starting to fight," said Leanne. "Are we ready yet?" "Almost," said Tamsin. We'd honed going down to planets quite a bit from our first attempts. Fina and Dorm's destroyers now had enough jump-down squares on their cargo decks so dragon-kind and cat-kind pairs could be sent to different places all at the same time. Matunga and Jill had a similar arrangement now, with his people going down in groups of 6 and Jill's panthers going down in 4s. Not all the human pilots were going down these days, as we were keeping those who didn't particularly like ground combat and those who were not any good at it for a CAP and emergency deployment of bombers. They hadn't bothered leaving their cockpits. "Fearless is ready," said Commander Lowell. The Spacemage task force had picked up some extra ships. Fearless, not long ago an assault cruiser, had at her captain's suggestion been gutted down to just empty decks, with only the bridge, ready room, and captain's mess left intact. The mess had been moved to join the ready room. What she now had were a lot of rifts and a lot of jump-down areas. It took a man whose main occupation, when not actively flying, was writing novels, to realize we didn't need assault ships carrying troops anymore. All we needed was a rift platform in orbit, linked to where the troops were coming from, and able to move whole units to the surface as soon as they arrived. The side effect of the ship remodel was he slept in his own bed back on Haven Station with his wife every night, and simply went to work by rift. Fearless being ready meant every deck had troops standing ready to go down. "Task force is ready," said Tamsin. "Phase 4. Go." Everywhere the dinosaurs were in major numbers, a battalion of troops, backed up by my pilots, appeared unexpectedly and opened fire. Dinosaurs went down before they rallied and started shooting back. I was watching vid feeds from unit leaders on the ground on one side of the bridge and feeds from Fearless on the other, showing the battalions as they arrived on the ship, positioned for the jump, and went down. Although some of them were smaller units of bigger creatures, especially the dragons, which were still going down individually, taking their big guns with them. Wyvern were going down in pairs, also with their big guns.